Well, as you see from the title, well, we fucked up scaling again, didn't we? You know, like we promised this thing like long time ago. There was discussion about this sharding thing and everything, and then kind of it's back to square one. So like I'm going to talk like, are we doing this just to take more VC money, or maybe there are some other stuff in the background that we want to do? So like just a bit short intro on my kind of background and so on. I was a core dev back in EF in 2018 and onwards. Worked a bit on Socrates, which is toolbox for ZK Snarks on Ethereum. Back in the day, the idea was that we can onboard users and developers to this new DSL that we kind of abstract all these kind of ZK backends and so on. As we see now kind of maturing, we have all these new DSLs outside of Solidity that multiple kind of protocols are using, from Starkware, from kind of Aztec and so on. So we're kind of on the right trail, but there was some like small nuisances back then why this wasn't feasible, because tech wasn't there and math wasn't there. So like after some time, basically they're experimenting and so on, I switched actually to Solidity team to found a team that's called Sourcify. The whole idea was that we can automatically verify Solidity smart contracts without you needing to do anything, you know, go to Etherscan, verify there. Kind of that's a nuisance. So the whole idea was when you develop it, you just push it to IPFS and we can automatically verify it and so on. There was some political stuff why this didn't have mature fully, but currently there is still a small team inside of Ethereum Foundation that works on this. When kind of 2020, you know, we all know that what happened, kind of DeFi summer came and so on. And then it was like, okay, this is kind of interesting stuff. Should we kind of do something around it? And then I founded a company that's called Shard Labs. Like Shard Labs basically to this day does DeFi related stuff, has the biggest LSD on Polygon, Light on Polygon and so on. It's kind of a fully mature company and so on. But 2 years ago, as kind of I was, like ZK was kind of maturing. Like, okay, you had Starkware coming to mainnet and so on. I was like, this is the one thing I never conquered. Kind of DeFi, you know, we managed to build a company, scale it to 100 million TVL and so on. Can we do it with ZK? You know, are we too early? Are we not? And so on. And then basically, it was first a department called like SpaceShard. Now it's a full-fledged company and so on that actually built the Nimbora product we are going to talk about today. So yeah, remember sharding. You know, who here remembers sharding? Okay, so what is difference between like now multiple ZK rollups and so on, rollups in general, and sharding back in the day? Is there any real difference? We have execution and state sharding now. We had it back then and so on. So what's kind of difference? Isn't it the same? Well, like sharding in its own was too complex to scale like much more than what we need basically today. And today basically we have rollups which help with that. But yeah, back in the day, we were talking about 64 shards. Some would be optimized for gaming, this and that. And basically we've seen that didn't really work. And Vitalik basically proposed in 2020 that we switch to Ethereum rollup-centric roadmap. And then to this day, basically, we're working on it. Kind of that's two main high-level overviews, how we see this as a potential sharding, obviously 2-layer and 3-layer architectures. One where you have kind of layer 1, which is Ethereum, and then you have multiple rollups and specific app chains and so on. Or you have the other one, which everything is basically settling directly on Ethereum. Both app chains and rollups are settling directly on Ethereum. There are different approaches to different teams now around this. So yeah, so rollup-centric is actually sharding, well, kind of. So let's see at the market what we have today. So currently, obviously, the biggest kind of TVL markets on the rollups are the optimistic ones. Everybody's talking about ZK, but is it here? You know, is anybody using this? Are we just farming the farmers? Like some basically people said, you know, all those who are airdrop hunters, are we just creating protocols that accommodate them? Well, short term it seems like that, but we definitely believe, as also Vitalik said, that ZK is a kind of ultimate solution to scaling Ethereum. So hopefully these like protocols from down will go up and basically win the game. Although it's not that trivial, because also those up there can change their architecture to kind of accommodate the new ZK stack. Well, we'll see how to do that. So yeah, obviously value lock goes up, and you know, some of you say it's a bull market. I'm a bit skeptical about that, so we'll see. So when you go back to sharding, one of the biggest issues is cross-chain rollup, cross-rollup communication, bridges, and those kind of things. That's completely broken. And we still haven't tackled it. Like, we see multiple hacks on the bridging part and so on, wrapped versions of the tokens and so on. So we have kind of a trilemma there, basically. So like, This is, for example, like gas cost and so on that we see a couple of weeks ago. We had spikes. Users on layer 2 also felt that spike and so on. But the main question is, we need to choose 2 out of 3 of those. Let's say we are bridging from Ethereum to some of the new ZK rollups and so on, or any rollup in that regard. We use a canonical bridge. Well, if you do that, well, we are doing a real transfer, and it's kind of trustless because that canonical bridge is connected to that chain. But let's say if we do L2 to L2, what solutions do we have? We have arbitrary message passing through like usual bridges, but we trust them and their relayers, and the tokens they do like bridge, well, it's kind of their wrapped version of a token. I think some of you have seen the recent drama with Lido and Layer 0. Are they the ones going to scale like wrapped estates to Binance or some other chains, because you don't have kind of ultimate finalization of Binance chains on Ethereum and so on. And then you have Axelar approach and so others, and then can you have wrapped versions of wrapped versions of wrapped versions of token? And it's kind of like user experience and liquidity is broken, everything is kind of broken around. So like, if we touch L1, obviously it's expensive. So why did we decide to do something with L1 that's still expensive, that we are targeting? We want to do real transfers, we want to make it trustless, but how do we then reduce the cost for the user? Does anybody have any resemblance of the idea? How can we do it? So user goes to L2s and can use L1 as it was L1. Okay, maybe we should dive into that. So that's what Nimbora is. Imagine going to L2 because you are priced from L1. So you're an average user, $50 or $100, you have it there, you have it in ETH because you believe ETH will go up in the future. Well, you want to stake it because you'll get additional API, let's say with Lido. But how can you do it? You can like go to DEX, maybe swap it, or you can go to L1, maybe bridge it and do it then. But you'll lose a lot of money there, maybe even $20 or more to just doing that. But let's say you have a friend. That friend also will have some ETH and wants to stake it, and then another friend, and another friend. And let's say there are 10 friends, and we agree that we want to stake basically with Lido. Well, why wouldn't we combine all those kind of users in the vault and bridge them to L1, execute it for them, and bring it back? And then they spray the cost. It's basically carpooling for DeFi. It's quite simple. Does it make sense? Anyways, let me show you one of the, okay, it works, nice. So like, we are happy that we managed to partner with one of the biggest centralized stable coins. I believe they are the biggest still, Liquidity. So currently you are able to borrow LUSD directly from Starknet in one click, just by clicking the wallet. Imagine all the possibilities you can do on top of this. Lido integrations, Yearn integrations, and so on. Maybe even what you can do is add additional complex solutions where protocol can, one part can live on mainnet, one part can live on ZK Sync, and third part can live on Starknet. Possibilities are immense, but also as we are listening today, risk is immense, because if any of those pieces broke apart, well, the whole thing kind of falls apart. So is this a smart way to go, introducing all these complexities? Well, on the one hand, we need scalability. We need to use this stuff. We need more advanced models and so on. But on the other hand, we need to abstract this complexity from developers, because developers are good, especially dApp developers, in building their niche. Is it NFTs? Is it dApps? Is it something else? But they're not, they don't understand really well the ZK stack. That's why we have DSLs. They don't understand well the, I don't know, some other bridging infra, whatever, but they understand their domain. So imagine if we could build infrastructure layer, abstracting this complexity from them, kind of giving them Legos so they can build these things in between. It's magic. Only somebody has to build. So one of the ideas basically on our front is to basically, currently it's working on Starknet, and what we want to do with this is obviously have fast withdrawals and those kind of things. And why we choose ZK stack instead of optimistic stack is quite simple. Because proving time to mainnet is 6 to 8 hours currently on average, but can be lowered arbitrarily depending how much gas cost you're willing to pay. So theoretically, if there are enough users that want to exit on layer 1, you can do this in minutes, maybe tens of seconds in the future. And this means that we get to unify block space across all these ZK rollups and mainnet while still protecting the security of main. So one of the on our agenda, obviously, is to create this kind of high-level abstraction of SDK for developers to be able to build on top of this. So you'll be able to use this as an SDK that abstracts this kind of connections and so on. But let's go a step back. So can somebody tell me like difference between maybe storage proofs and like restaking and those kind of things? Do we have, I just want to see, have you heard about storage proofs? Okay, we have some hands. Have you heard about restake? Okay, so what's kind of the good side of restaking and what's the good side of like storage proofs in terms of bridging? Well, when we have restaking, we have economic guarantees where validators or like participants in that network verify some work. Let's say I want to bridge from ZK Sync to Starknet. Well, if I have a restaking in place for that, you have validators that verify the transition, guarantee basically that, but they stake, which is fine, but every economic guarantee can be broken. So what we believe is that that is not enough to fully achieve consensus, especially across these domains, but we need something additional. Well, we need math, and that is basically ZK proofs or storage proofs in this case. How storage proofs work is actually quite simple. You take one chain, you have a Merkle tree root, and you prove it to other chain. And then other chain can verify it because they have a like client of the first one. Kind of it seems simple, but there is a lot of stuff in the background. If we combine these two, we can have fast transfers from one chain to another with math, basically storage proofs verifying it afterwards. So we get a small delay of an attack and so on. I know the guys from Gauntlet and others will like this because there will be a lot of stuff that they can break here. So I see some smiles here in the first row. But yeah, that's kind of the intro and that's it. So yeah, thanks for this. And I'm open to questions now because I tried to abstract it and lower it a bit to make it simple. There are so many pieces here we can open. So I'm hoping I didn't open too much questions here, but yeah, we can start with some of those. Okay. Do you have any questions on this side?
I have a question.
Okay.
What do you see as a main risk besides security?
I mean, like main risk here is the guarantees between these domains, multiple chains, and so on. So they eventually finalize on mainnet. Let's say you have ZK Sync and you have Starknet for in this case. So you have local finality basically on layer 2, which is done by the consensus, or in this case, they have centralized sequencers and provers. So you have kind of local finality. And then let's say you want to bridge that to ZK Sync. How do you do that? Well, you can wait for proof to layer 1. So this finalizes truly to 6 to 8 hours and then bridge it there. But the main issue with that obviously is delay. So most of the users don't want to wait 6 to 8 hours or like hours on end to bridge from one chain to the other. So how do you kind of like move it like forward? Well, you can use restaking to connect those two directly and then have finality later on. It's quite complex like, paradigm because on one hand, you want it fast, you want it seamless. On the other hand, you want it as secure as possible. You have like issues with reorg, those kind of things. There'll be like so much potential issues in the future that we need to how to communicate L2 to L2.
But as I know, it's not risk-taking also introducing risks additionally.
Absolutely, that's why you don't use just one tech, but you use combination of both. Because storage proofs have a delay in proving time. So when you generate a ZK proof, you need some time to generate the proof and put it on the other side. And you need like client on the other side to verify it, but also users want a seamless. So potentially, what if you could combine both? On one side, you use basically restaking as a first economic guarantee, and second, you verify with a MAD. So basically, you kind of have a solid proof, and then you have a attack vector, basically, which is kind of in minutes, not in hours or weeks, maybe even with optimistic probes.
Okay, understood. Cool. Really cool concept.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, so basically, thank you, Eddie.
Thanks
for your talk.